Hi guys, welcome back to another day of listening and learning. We are still in our domain, the Greek myths, and today we are going to be doing a new story. Our story today is called Atalanta and the Golden Apples. So we are going to, in our story, be listening for to see if any predictions you make, if they are true or if they're correct. And also, we're going to be looking for details of how Atalanta responds to challenges in the story, okay? So, before we get started, let's go over some of our new characters that we're going to see in our story. Here is Atalanta. She is our main character in the story. Another character we'll be meeting in the story is Aphrodite, right here. And guess who this little guy is? That is her son Eros, okay? Aphrodite is the goddess of love. And so, what do you think is going to happen in this story? Well, do you see that strong man on the other side? Right over here? We're going to find out what his name is, and we're going to find out how this character comes to life in our story. So, everybody, let's get ready. Sit down, get your listening ears on. Long ago, in a peaceful little corner of Greece, there lived a king and a queen who loved each other very much. Although their kingdom was not large or wealthy, they and all their people lived happily. This king and queen had a daughter, a princess who was intelligent, beautiful, and a skilled huntress. She also happened to be the fastest runner in the world. Her name was Atalanta. When she reached a certain age, Atalanta's parents told her, "One day you will become queen, and ruling this land is too big a job for one person to do all alone. It is time for you to marry." To their surprise, Atalanta's replied, "I can ask wise men or women to help me run the country. As for a husband, perhaps I shall have someday, but for now, there is no one whom I wish to marry." The queen asked, "What about all of these young men who come around asking to marry you? Surely there must be one." "They care nothing for me, mother," Atalanta replied. "They only want to marry me in order to become king one day." But the king and queen insisted. Finally, Princess Atalanta said, "Very well, I shall marry the first unmarried man who can defeat me in a foot race." "What?" her parents exclaimed. They tried to talk her out of the idea, but they could not. So at last, they agreed to her terms, and she sent word throughout the land. So guys, what are Atalanta's terms? Which means, what do you have to do in order to marry her? Do you think that any man will be able to defeat her in the foot races? Let's find out. As you might imagine, many young men came to race against the princess, hoping to marry her. She's easily defeated every single one, enjoying herself tremendously. One day, after winning yet another race, she just kept running past the finish line for the sheer delight of it. She did not know that looking down from Mount Olympus that day was the goddess of love, Aphrodite. The goddess thought, "She is making a joke of love. I cannot allow this to go on." So why would Aphrodite be looking down from Mount Olympus? Why do you think? Let's find out. Now, at the same moment, a young man was walking along the same road upon which Atalanta was now running. The young man was a brave adventurer. His name was Hippopotamus. He was just running from a long sea voyage, so he knew nothing of the princess's challenge. As Hippopotamus walked along, he glanced ahead and saw the most beautiful young woman he had ever laid his eyes on running his way at an unbelievable speed. It was Atalanta, of course, and as Hippopotamus was looking at her, the goddess Aphrodite was looking at him. Turning to her son Eros, Aphrodite said, "Go shoot an invisible arrow of love into Hippopotamus' heart, so that he will fall in love with Atalanta." So Eros did as he was told, and Hippopotamus instantly fell in love with Atalanta as she ran by him. He thought, "I have never seen such a joy on a human's face. I would not have thought it possible, but I believe that I have fallen in love with her." At once, he began to pray to Aphrodite for help, which is what the goddess had planned all along. She appeared before Hippopotamus and told him that he must outrace Atalanta if he wanted to marry her. "But this is impossible, my lady," Hippopotamus told Aphrodite. "I'm a very fast runner, but I have never seen anyone move as fast as Atalanta." The goddess presented Hippopotamus with 3 apples made of purest gold that shone almost as brightly as the sun. When Atalanta sees these apples, she will not be able to resist picking them. Aphrodite said, "Here is what you must do." The next day, Hippopotamus challenged Atalanta to a race. Inside his rather loose-fitting clothing, he had hidden the 3 golden apples. Before the race, he told Atalanta, "Your Highness, I want you to know why I am racing against you." Atalanta answered, "In order to marry a princess and become king someday?" To her shock, he replied, "No, in order to marry the woman I love. She just happens to be a princess." Then he walked to the starting line while Atalanta thought, "There is something different about this one." Still, she took her place next to him. A moment later, the race was on. Atalanta began to pull ahead almost at once, but Hippopotamus drew one of the apples from inside his clothing and tossed it ahead of her and a little off to the side. The moment Atalanta saw the apple, she had to have it. She turned and went after it. As she picked it up, she saw Hippopotamus ahead of her, and losing no more time, she took off like a deer. So Hippopotamus heard her footsteps closing in behind him. Drawing out apple number 2, he held it up so she would see it and tossed it back over his shoulder. She turned right around and ran back to get it while Hippopotamus ran on. Grabbing the second apple, she saw Hippopotamus halfway to the finish line. This time, Atalanta took off after him like a speeding cheetah, dashing across the grassland. Soon, Hippopotamus could hear her rapid footsteps getting closer, and he took out apple number 3 and threw it into a nearby field of tall grass. Of course, Atalanta went after it, hunting through the tall grass for the golden fruit while Hippopotamus kept running. This one, too, she held in her palm of her hand as she returned to the race. In all of Atalanta's life, she had never run as she ran then. Her feet seemed not to touch the ground. Faster and faster, she moved, and closer to Hippopotamus she came. He told himself, "Don't look back or you might lose your step." Now, she was only 3 steps behind him. Now 2 steps, now just 1, and then she thought to herself, "Would it be so terrible if I did marry him?" And as she thought that, Hippopotamus gained a step and crossed the finish line before her. What happened after that? Well, I'm glad to say that Atalanta kept her word and married Hippopotamus. And I'm even gladder to say that she had been right. There was something different about him, and soon she loved him as much as he loved her. Hippopotamus never minded that Atalanta could outrun him. He was happy just to be one running with her. The end. All right, guys, we finished our story. Before we go on to our questions, let's stand up out of your seat, get up out of your seat, wiggle, 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 wiggle. What we're going to do is we are going to exercise the muscles in our face, all right? So that means we are going to be using facial expressions, all right? I'm going to say an expression, and I want you to do that expression. All right, so make your happy face. What is your happy face? Do you show all your teeth, or is it all just make your happy face? Now show your sad face. Do you poke your lip out when you're sad? I do sometimes. Now show your I don't know face. You know, the face where it's, I don't know. Show your I don't know face. Now, lastly, show me your smart face. I see a lot of smart faces out there. Good job, guys. Now let's get back into our questions. All right, guys, our first question today is, what is the name of the hero in today's read aloud? Great job. Her name is Atalanta. And which Greek god or goddess appeared in today's read aloud? Great, Aphrodite and her son Eros. Good job. So now for our next question, Atalanta says she will only marry someone that can beat her in a foot race. Why do you think she gives those terms? Well, she thinks no one will accomplish the task. And remember what that task was? A what? Foot race. Good job, a foot race. For our last question, at the end of the myth, is Atalanta tremendously happy? Or is she sad that she married hippopotamus? Great job, guys. She was tremendously happy. Good job with our questions. Now for our word words. Our word for today is resist. What word? Yes, resist. In our story, we heard when Atalanta sees these apples, she will not be able to resist picking them up. So, what is our word today? Say it with me. Resist. Good job. So, exactly what does resist mean? If you resist something, you turn it down or say no to it, right? So, let's use that in a sentence. Daniel had to resist staying up late to read his comic book because he needed to be rested for his test in the morning. What is our word today? Resist. Good job. Now it's your turn. Have you ever had to resist something? Well, let's try using resist in a sentence. So, I had to resist a candy bar when I knew I was allergic to chocolate. Yes, that means I could not have it if I'm allergic, right? Yes, or I could not resist playing in the park on a sunny day. Could you resist playing in the park on a sunny day? All right, well, let's go into another activity which talks about antonyms. So, antonyms are words that are opposites. What are antonyms? Are words that are opposites. So, what are some antonyms or opposites of resist? How about obey? How about agree? Or lastly, how about accept? Those are all antonyms for the word resist. Remember, antonyms are words that are opposites. So, what is our word today? Resist. Good job. You did such an amazing job. And so, till next time, I'll see you. Have a blazing, amazing day. Bye.